Okay, I'm going to try and go from the beginning to the end as quick as I can, and I guess as entertaining as possible without putting you to sleep, because sometimes when I watch my videos, I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to go to sleep. But there's threads on the different Facebook pages, and it's going back and forth, and I think the meaning and the purpose of this whole thing, the whole reason why it started, how it started, and why it got to where it's at, has been kind of lost. So let me start off. I've been in this house for 13 years. I've had to deal with people in the woods from the very beginning. Now, when I moved here, my children were small, and I didn't want to confront anyone in fear of having retaliation against my house. So as my children got older and started walking to school, going to Starkey and going to Osceola Middle, especially Osceola Middle, when my child comes home, my daughter, my youngest daughter, asking me what pot looks like, and she describes it to me because one of the kids has pot walking home from school. Started, raising concern for me. So I said, you know what? I can't live in fear anymore. I've got to protect my kids. This is my community. I got to feel safe here. So whenever I heard someone outside the gate, outside the fence here, on either side, I would go check to see who it was. I had to give it some thought. I said, what's the best way to do this? What's the best way to handle this to have the best outcome? I said, well, if I make a presence, then the kids that aren't supposed to be back there will see me and someone there, okay? I will get to recognize their faces. I've gone back there on several occasions with my kids to clean up the woods because there would be beer cans, soda bottles, and whatever. So the thought process was, if I keep the area clean, then people that don't like clean things, that are messing it up, will say, hey, there's people that are keeping an eye on this area, maybe I shouldn't come back here. Couldn't do it on my own. I mean, it got pretty nasty. I know what they dealt with. Some people were dumping their whole garbage back there. It was ridiculous. But at the same time, as the kids were growing up, neighborhood kids were back there playing, building forts. I know that it looked like there were some hobos back there. I never caught any hobos. Anytime someone told me or I heard something, I went back there to check. There were kids playing. I went back there once, and I mean, there was 8, 9, 10-year-old kids building little forts and stuff. Never once out of the 13 years did I have anyone from the church, if it was that big of an issue, to come over and say, hey, Mr. Wilbanks, right behind your fence, there's, it's dangerous. If you have any issues, let's work together, whatever. Never. The woods caught on fire twice. I was the one that called. I come home to catch see the woods on fire, and call to have them put out. Did anybody ever come over and say, hey, our property caught on fire. Did it cause any damage to yours? Did any embers come over? Anything? Nothing. Never. I've never heard anything from the church, which is fine. I didn't expect it. I didn't even think to reach out to them to say, hey, how can we work together to keep this a safe place for the kids? Because I don't believe in fighting against something. I believe in fighting for something. I don't fight against bad behavior. I try to promote good behavior. The kids should be able to go outside of their house in their neighborhood and play and enjoy. So, I was as vigilant as I could be, being a single father, and, I would ride my bike back and forth to school because, there was kids that would, the bridge down there, they would sit on the bridge and smoke, and where my kids would have to walk through there. One day I found a teenager back here passed out with her friends. So passed out I couldn't wake her up. I had to pick her up, carry her home. I knew her. I'm friends with the family. They ended up taking her to the hospital, and of course the sheriff got involved. To come to find out, on the other side of the neighborhood, there's an adult providing alcohol and drugs for some of these kids. So yeah, at that time, for me, the safest route was the quickest, shortest route for my daughter to come home. So, because this way she could come with her friends, because her friends would split off and go that way. Otherwise, she would have to go around. So anyway, she starts calling me saying that somebody's stopping her from coming home. And I'm like, well, give them the phone. I'll tell them that, you live here and you're not causing any problems. You're coming home. They never would do it. I said, well, give them my phone number. They never would do it. And I said, well, just come home. I thought it was an overzealous church member or someone just being overexcited. So I really didn't think much of it. So one day I'm home and she calls me, and scared to death because, which apparently I didn't know it at the time, was Father Pat. He was leaving the parking lot, saw her, turned around and chased her down with his car, running towards her with her car. Maybe not meaning to scare her, but when you take your vehicle going towards someone at a fast rate of speed, anything can happen, and then an accident happens. So that's dangerous. That's not thinking smartly. So he gets out and yells out. She calls me. She's like, what do I do? And I said, just get away from the man. Come home. So she's on the phone with me. Now I'm home at this time, and I'm thinking, okay, she's a 13-year-old kid. He really wasn't that. It wasn't that serious. Well, she comes through the woods to come home through the path where kids play all the time, where we keep an eye on it, and there's two kids back there having sex. So I'm like, are you serious? And she's like, yes. So I go back there. I let them know they're on private property, they don't need to be back there, and I decided, you know what, this is a dangerous situation for this girl, so I called the sheriff. I told him where they were. I didn't go back there yelling and screaming at the kids. I was like, look, you need to get moving. This is wrong what you're doing. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I let them know I was calling the sheriff. I don't know what happened with that situation, but my point is, while Father Pat is chasing down an innocent child trying to come home, meanwhile, the fornication was going on right there. So it was just convenient. I understand that what he's trying to do, but it was just out of convenience. Because he's there 9 to 5, I'm here 24/7. Just because my daughter wasn't sneaky to try and sneak around and come in, meanwhile, all the vagrancy and everything else kept going. So whatever, fine. So just recently, what has come up, they've cleaned out the back here. There's a nice clean path straight to the 30 feet to the back gate. So, of course, she comes home while he's sitting in the office. She's not trying to be sneaky, and I happen to be home. She stopped. I said, well, let me go talk to whoever this is. I'll meet him and say, hey, look, she's just my daughter. She's going home. And no introduction, nothing. He just started yelling and screaming. Nothing I said mattered. So I was like, I was floored. I was completely floored. So, yeah, I'm human. When people start yelling at me, I start getting upset. I didn't. I had to lead by example for my daughter. So I stayed calm, and I was just asking him, what's the issue? Help me to understand. Of course, yes, it's private property. Stay off. But, at the time, that didn't make sense to me because it was ridiculous. Which I still think it's ridiculous, but it's their property. That's fine. Just talk to me like a human being, and then let me say, hey, Mr. Wilbanks, I can't let anybody. I understand your daughter's got to go through there to get home, but no, I can't do it because, it's private. He said he had to let everybody do it. Not everybody's coming in my backyard. And then he even asked me, how would you feel if I walked through your backyard? Anybody from right now, I'm making this offer. Anybody at St. Matthew Catholic needs to walk through my yard to go somewhere, you're more than welcome. I don't know if you can see the discolored fence. My fence got broken because they were cutting down the trees. No problem. They replaced it with an odd-colored fence. No big deal. One of the gentlemen was reaching over the fence to pull branches out. I told him, I said, there's a gate. Come on in the gate and get the branches. I helped him carry them out. My neighbor helped. He fixed their lawnmowers, sharpened their chainsaws, and helped them cut down the trees. He's not a member of the church, just the neighbor. So I offered to move the fence panel, but the guy said, no, it's fine, and then broke it. Well, there was another tree, so without him asking or me saying anything, I removed the fence panel so he could get to the tree easier, to make it easier for him. So, and this was before the incident. So I'm like, here we're working together, we're getting this all cleaned up, and then I go talk to Father Pat, and I get yelled and screamed at. So yes, at that point, I'll tell you, I had a little bit of an ego, and I'm like, well, I don't understand. I said, the only way I'm gonna stay off is if the sheriff tells me to. Well, a week later, same thing. I walk over there to go talk to him, and then I get a visit from the sheriff. Which, by the way, the other videos on there, if Father Pat called the sheriff on me, I need to go get the report to find out exactly what was reported. But he didn't mention anything about the kids or anything. He just said me. I said, I don't need to go on the property. My daughter doesn't either. That's not the point. I'm not arguing the fact whether she has a right to. No, it's safer. It's easier. Sure. But if you don't want her on the property, that's fine. Just don't use the excuse of safety. No, it's no safer that way. Liability, yes, you're liable for everybody that comes on the property. All your church members and everybody. If somebody trips on your sidewalk or a crack or something and falls over, you're liable. Just like anywhere else on your property. So, you know, that to me, that's not really an issue at the point. At this point. So, you know, the whole point for me was, why are we pushing these kids away when we should trying to be, you know, Sun Tzu, or the art of war. Keep your enemies closer, you know. Keep an eye on these kids. Let them know. Let them know you do care, that you're willing to help them. I mean, you can't help everybody. You can't help them if they don't want help. But what if they do want help? What if they did want to reach out? What if they're from a troubled home, they turn to one person, and they're like, and then they go to the church, and, you know, where do they go? Where do they turn to? It just gets worse. We have to be the light at where there's darkness. So that's where this elevated to. Me trying to reach out and talk to him, honestly, when I walked over there, I just got home from work, had my work clothes on, and he wouldn't come more than 50 feet to me. I was just, I'm still talking about it right now. I'm flabbergasted. Well, I put up some signs on the back gate, some poster board, really tacky compared to that. Well, that's kind of big. But anyway, one of the guys from the church that was working in the back that actually told my daughter that she could come home that way. So she was told by somebody from the church that she could come that way. And that's why she continued to do it. So he asked me what was going on. We talked. He knew a little bit about it. He said, I'll go talk to Father Pat. And that was the last I heard. So that was the only person that reached out to me. Which at that time when he talked to me, I took the signs down that I had up there. It was like, that's all I wanted, somebody to talk to me and you know, let's get an understanding. Let me understand where you're coming from. Maybe you've been sued already or something. Maybe somebody's already been hurt back there. I don't know. Maybe that's why your guard's up. But it's still, to me, that's not the way to solve it. Especially for a church. So I took the signs down, and then I get a letter from the lawyer, and I'm like, you know what, really? It's just, to me, it feels like, this is what it feels like to me. This is our community. Churches are supposed to be a part of the community. This church has, you can see about posted no trespassing all over the place. They're blocking it off, and I don't know. This isn't about religion. That's a whole nother subject. I don't know if the Catholics just, if it's open to the public where you can just come in or you have to be invited. I don't know how that all works. So, at this point where, between the sheriff's 2 visits, and the second visit, the sheriff tells me that Father Pat said if I want to talk to him, I can just come over to the office. Well, that sheriff wasn't aware that he's already called the sheriff once on me for trespassing. Well, I guess if it's posted no trespassing, that makes it official. Well, if I was to go around, not to trespass on this 30 feet of dirt back here that's completely cleared out, if I was to go all the way around, come into the front of the church, right behind this big sign that says St. Matthew's Catholic, there's a posted no trespassing sign in front of the office before you get to the office. So I would have to literally, I guess legally, be trespassing at that point. So I didn't know if Father Pat was playing a game and trying to lure me onto and then call the sheriff. I don't know. I really don't. I honestly believe he's got to be a good man if he's devoted his whole life to God and the church. Perhaps I hear, well, he's just human. I am too, but I don't act that way. We have standards to live up to as we get older and become leaders in the community, and people look up to us more. We have I don't care what you say. You have a liability to everyone else, especially children, how you act and the things you do. So it just completely got out of hand. So my contact was one concerned member, 2 sheriff's visit, and the lawyer's office. Okay. You know, that's fine. You win. My daughter's not coming across your property. That's not the issue. And the lawyer's letter says, I was arguing for my right. That's not my right. It's your property. I get that. That's not a problem. It's a little bit bigger than this. I do have some concerns of the behavior, but I'm sure if there's an issue, the powers to be would recognize it and that would be handled. That's not my issue. You know, it's been recommended to me to reach out through programs if I want to help the kids in the neighborhood. I'm a single father. I got to take care of my kids first. I got to take care of my house first. But I've done what I can. My kids' friends that I know that have issues, I've tried to reach out to them. I've had a kid come running in my yard because he was being chased by someone else. I tried to address that situation as far as I could. I've had a gentleman jump over my fence, come running through. He told me he was sorry, ran through and took off. A few hours later, he came back and knocked on my door and apologized to me and explained to me that, and this guy was like 21 years old, a military veteran. He had gotten into an altercation with some other guys, and they were chasing him. Several of them were chasing him. He was trying to get away. So, you know, I mean, things happen, but we can't just close ourselves off and shelter ourselves off. So, you know, going forward, you know, I mean, it's just we got to make this world a kinder, gentler place, one person at a time. I didn't devote my life to saving people like Father Pat has, and again, I don't know what the creed that each pastor from different religions take. I just do, you know, to take a verse from the Bible, I do unto others as I would have them do unto me. I try to reach out. I don't turn the other cheek. Don't slap me, because that's not good. I don't follow that philosophy. I only go so far, and apparently so does Father Pat. So I don't know. Make your comments on this video. I'm going to try and keep all the communication in one place. I'm trying to keep the negativity. I'm only human as well. I have an ego, and that's one reason why I'm doing this, is to firm my stance on what I believe. To challenge myself, so to speak. To stand up for what I believe in, do it in a manner that is non-threatening and as positive as possible. I could have put up a bunch of negative, nasty stuff up there. Try to stick to fact over opinion. Fact is, yes, private property, keep off. No problem. The humanity side of it is, let's work together to clean up the community. We all live here. The same kids that you're dealing with, I'm dealing with. You know, on several occasions that they're there 9 to 5, or whenever they're there, that's not when the activity happens. The activity happens when they're gone, when they're not there, or by the ones that are being sneaky. You know, and that's what I've been doing all this time. Am I going to turn a blind eye now if I see somebody doing something wrong? No. If I see Father Pat on the road, broke down and needs some help, I'll stop and help. You know, I'll continue to do what I think is right, because that's my philosophy, just do the right thing. You know, it's just, to me, it's just core fundamentals that the whole world's gotten away from. You know, kids out shooting kids, going in theaters and shooting people up. You know, it's insane. We got to start somewhere, and it starts in our community. If every person started with their family and their neighbors, then it would spread. We don't have to go somewhere else to find someone to help. It's that we all need help. We all need a kind hand, a kind word, somebody to reach out to. So, again, I hope we understand that it's clear that it's been made very clear they don't want me on the property. I still disagree that it's a safety issue. It might be liability. Like I said, maybe they've had some issues or something else, but they're just as liable as anybody else. But I don't care. I don't. Even if it was offered, I probably wouldn't let her come back there anyway. As far as reaching out to the community, again, if this is going like this, so to help other people be aware of what's going on in the world, and to maybe try and make a difference. Maybe they know of someone that they've shunned a little bit. You don't have to go very far to find anyone that needs a kind word and that needs somebody to reach out to them. You don't have to go very far. You don't have to dedicate your life to it. You can positively affect people every day around you in every way with as little as a smile. So I'm trying to keep the negativity out of it. I'm trying to stay positive and upbeat about the whole thing. I feel that this has happened for a reason. I found purpose in it. I've already had positive outcome from this. I hope everyone else that's involved and that sees this will. I'm not trying to change Father Pat. I'm not trying to change the Catholic Church, St. Matthew, on how they do their policies. They can put up a gate up front and just members only with a barcode gate, whatever. That's none of my business. But I am a student and a practitioner of the law of attraction, and I can tell you just by looking around, it's a fine example. What you focus on is what you get. There's like 3 or 4 signs, no trespassing, no trespassing. What's he getting? He's getting a lot of trespassing. I've been around to the other churches and rode through. They have just as many woods and things for kids to hide and play in, and I don't see those issues. I know my kids go up to Aldersgate, and I don't hear of those issues over there. So I don't know. All I'm trying to do is, without interrupting or taking time away from my kids, the extra time that I do have to reach out and do what I can. Multimedia, the internet, that's the best way to reach more people. It's just we gotta be a little kinder. I love you. I hope you have a great day.